Hello everyone, this is the Creative Podcast. My name is Joelle, and if you are new here, this is a podcast where I share all of the creative things I love doing, like knitting, crocheting, weaving, those sort of things. Mostly fiber crafts, but sometimes I'll share other things as well. It's been a while since I have made a podcast, so if I'm a little bit rusty, please forgive that. We moved last year, and then I just never made one, and I thought I would have a ton to share. Then I realized I've given away like half the things, more than half the things actually, that I have made. So some of these will be in separate videos that I'll insert, but I do have some other things to show you now. So the first thing I made was a test knit. This is the Breve Pullover by Wilbur Knits. I discovered her last year and was able to test. Maybe I should show that one first. I'll show it next. I'm showing these all out of order because I've been wearing them a lot and I kind of forgot which was first, but I guess I should have shown the first one first, but I didn't. So this is actually the third item I have made from Wilbur Knits. I test knitted this one back in February, I think, and I was drawn to it because of the 1x1 rib. I went through a phase where I was just really loving 1x1 rib. After I did it for the first time, I wanted to make everything with 1x1 ribbing. So when I saw this one with both the 1x1 ribbing and the cables that run down the full length of the sleeves, I knew I had to make it. I made it in Easy Care Merino. It's a super wash from the brand Mayflower, and I think this is the color, I don't know, it's like denim or blue jeans, I don't remember exactly, but it's a really nice like navy blue. It's coming off a little bit different on camera. I'll try to get a video with like its proper color, but it has cables running down, 3 on the front and 3 on the back, and then one's running down the sleeve. It has a really nice long ribbed cuff, as well as ribbing on the bottom. And this is actually the second one I made. I made one identical to this one, same yarn, pattern, size, all of it, for my Grammy. And this one is for my mama, so they get to match. And soon I hope to make myself one in like a beige, maybe, kind of like the sample knit. I'm not really sure, but I definitely want to make myself one. I did not use the mohair. There's an optional strand of mohair, but I didn't do that just because I wanted it to be easy to take care of. So it's super wash, and it will be a lot easier for my Grammy and my mama to take care of their sweaters. So after I made my Grammy one, I made this one for my mama, and it's a little bit damp still from blocking, but this is going to go off in the mail tomorrow, I think, to her. So I'm really excited about that because it's a surprise for her. Okay, you're gonna have to kind of forgive the condition of this one because I worn it all winter. I loved it so much, and I still do. So this is the Abeline Pullover by Wilbur Knits, the same designer, and it was my first color work, and I just love it so much. But it's gotten, I used yarn from Hobby. I don't remember the line of yarn, but it pills so much, which is really sad because I love it. But for the first time I wore it, it just got really pilly, and it just keeps doing that. So I don't think it'll last very long, which is really sad because I love this one. And it's also really sad because I love this yarn. I'll have to insert some video or photos of it because it's kind of hard to show now, especially now that it's all fuzzy. But it has like little flecks of gold and teal. It's the color Dark Moss. So it's a really, really cool color. Green's my favorite color, but this one especially was just really beautiful. So I'm sad that it's not holding up really well. But I wore this all winter. It's so comfortable. I believe I made the size 4. Yes, this one was a size 4, and then the Breve pullovers I made in size 3. But if I was making my size, I would make a size 4. But it has this really cool rolled collar that was really fun to do. And then 2x2 ribbing on the mock turtleneck, also and fun. think for me. It was my first turtleneck knit. And then I accidentally made my sleeves a little bit too long. I accidentally made my sleeves a little bit long because I have kind of short arms. So normally it would just be a regular cuff, but you can see by the fold line, I just always have it folded in half. But I really like that look, so I would do it again. And I think I will definitely make another one of these in the future because I just love it so much. I'll probably actually find another green that's very similar to this to remake this exact one, because I love it so much. And then I would probably make it in some other colors too. But yeah, this is my first colorwork design. It was stranded colorwork, and I really enjoyed it, and I want to do more colorwork in the future for sure. I did crop mine slightly. You can see the inside for the stranded colorwork. It looks kind of cool. I did make some mistakes in the colorwork. It was my first time. And I was working on it in the evenings, which is really enjoyable, but it's easy to make mistakes then. So there are a couple mistakes in it, but it's busy enough. I don't think you can really see it. I took out some of them, and then some of them I didn't realize until the sweater was done. So yeah, it's going to have mistakes. I always had a goal of trying to make a perfect sweater, and I think that's pretty much impossible because even when you're taking out every mistake you make, you can take out all the mistakes you make, but then later realize there's another mistake you never even saw. So anyways, both of those patterns are by Woolbird Knits. I highly recommend her patterns. They are super easy to follow, well written, but they're not overwritten. I don't know about you, but I don't really like patterns that are so detailed that I don't really like patterns that are so detailed in the instructions that you have to read like an entire paragraph to know how to do one row, you know, when it's not necessary. So her patterns are perfectly written. I love them so much. Oh, and this one, I don't know if I mentioned, this one was also a test knit. This is my first test knit by her. And yeah, I really loved it. It was very fun to do. Okay, the next two are also related to the same designer in different ways. But one of my very first sweater I ever made was by Fiber Tales, and it was the Favo sweater. And when I saw that one, I was like, okay, I need to learn how to knit. I'm going to teach myself how to knit so I can make myself sweaters like that. So that is why I made that one as my first sweater, because it was my original one, the one that made me determined to learn how to knit so I can make myself sweaters. So I have always wanted to test knit for her. So when she put up the test call for this Perikon sweater, actually she hadn't even put it up yet, I messaged her and I was like, if you open up testing, I want to test. So thankfully, the nice thing about being a larger size is you can test I don't think I've ever been I've never been denied a test. I think it's because there's just less people that want to knit in their, in the larger sizes. So I was very excited to be able to test this for her. This is the Perikon Sweater, which I also love the name because it's given the name because of these leaf-like cables on the yoke. Perikon is the Danish name for St. John's wort. So I also love the herbalist association. I love that. So I used Pearl Soho's Good Wool in the color teal something. I'll put the name up on the screen. As well as their Tussock Merino in the color Nickel Blue. And it kind of turned out a bit heathered, which I didn't expect, but I really, really love how the sweater came out. I think it's one of this one and the Abeline Pullover, between the two, I don't think I can pick a favorite. They're my two favorites. This one is just so soft and comfortable. It feels like you're wearing a cloud when you wear it. And it also has 1x1 ribbing. in a very narrow ribbed collar, which I really like. And then again, I cropped mine. I always crop my sweaters because I love wearing them over dresses, and they just work out so much better there. Oh wait, I just remembered, the Abeline Pullover I did not crop. I was going to crop it, but I decided to go with the hip length. It's already slightly cropped, so I didn't crop that one. But I did consider cropping it more, and I like it just how it is. So that one I did not, but I think, yeah, but every other sweater I've ever made, I've cropped. So this one I love so much. For some reason, it reminds me of like 1940s English housewives outfits, like the English countryside, and I don't know, I just love it so much. It's very comfortable. I'm very sad it's getting too hot to wear sweaters because I just love all my sweaters. So I have made a ton of sweaters over the winter. I think I counted and I've made like 7 adult-sized sweaters, 6 or 7 adult-sized sweaters over the winter. I knit a lot because when it's cold, you don't want to do anything but knit. At least I don't want to do anything but knit and drink tea and stuff. So this is also connected to Fiber Tales, but for a different reason. This is Gotland wool yarn from Fiber Tales. The pattern is the Cara sweater by Lena Holmes Samso. It has this really cool braid detail and cables and honeycomb cables and rice stitch and all over texture. I was really craving a pattern with a lot of texture, and I splurged on this yarn back in November because I had tried to buy this yarn before at several different launches, and I had never been able to get any because I wasn't fast enough. And so I quickly looked on Ravelry through my favorites, found this pattern, and I was like, yep, that'll work. And ordered it, and then didn't open it for like 2 entire months because I was making a bunch of other sweaters for people. I had a few commission knits and test knits that I had to work on, like the Abeline Pullover I was working on, I think, at the time, and I was making a commission knit that I'll talk about next for a friend, and I just had too much to take on another knit at the time. So I knew if I opened it, I would want to knit it, so I didn't open it. But this yarn is like a nice rustic yarn. It's very, because of the pattern, it's like, this sweater is like very cushy, and it's really nice to squish. I love it. It's a little bit heathered. This is just a natural wool color. Larka divides the wool from her parents' farm into 2 to 3 different colors, just based on the colors of natural sheep wool they have that year. So this year there were 2 colors. There was medium gray and I don't remember what the other one's called. It's like a really dark charcoaly gray, almost black but not quite. And I got the lighter version because I thought the pattern would show off best with this one. Oh, and it has this cool twisted cable. This is really fun because I wanted a nice, complicated, but not too complicated. I wanted a complicated textured knit, but one that I didn't have to think about too much because the pattern's already on for me. And this is perfect for that. I loved it. I think next time I would make a smaller size. This is like an oversized t-shirt kind of sweater. But the armpit, I wasn't sure what I thought of the yoke because it was super deep. You can see that, like, it was raglan increases, but the yoke felt super deep. It was deeper than any of the other patterns I had made before. And I was really hesitant about it, but I decided to just trust the pattern and go on with it. And then once it was finished, I wasn't sure if I liked it or not. I was very unsure about it. And then we had a lot of warmer weather, so I couldn't wear it for like a month. I haven't really gotten much wear out of this yet because it's been so cold. I mean, so warm. But over the last few days, we've had a lot of rainy weather, and I was able to actually wear it, and I think I do like it. I was really unsure about it at first, but it felt kind of like prickly. It wasn't scratchy, but it was like a little bit, it's hard to explain, and I know Lark has had a hard time explaining it too, because it's like a very rustic yarn. It's not super scratchy, but it is a little bit rough, if that makes sense. So between that and the fact that it was larger than I expected, and it had super deep armpits, so every time I put my arms up at all, it would come up, and I wasn't sure what I thought of it. But over the last few days, I've been able to wear it a lot more, and I really like it. As you wear it, it like kind of warms up and forms to your body better, and it's very soft once it warms up, and I really like it. So I think I'll wear it a lot. I would like to in the future make another one of these, but I would probably make a smaller size, and I'd like to make it in like a cream color, like the sample. I think that would be really nice. So the other knit I don't have to show you, but it took up so much of my mental brain space for months, because I was duplicating a friend's sweater. He bought a sweater back like 20 years ago. It was about 18, 20 years ago he bought this sweater, and he loved it so much, and his daughter loved it, so he wanted me to duplicate it. And I'm not going to talk about it too much because I'm going to make a separate video for that, but that took so much of my brain space and stuff. I thought it was going to be really easy because I had the actual sweater to compare it to. But it was a lot harder than I was expecting, and took a lot longer than I was expecting. It took about 3 months almost to finish that. So that was why I wanted a pattern already written for me. So that's why I chose this one. But it was really fun to do, and that'll be in a separate video. I'll put a picture in this video, but I'll have a dedicated video to that, so you can watch the whole process if you'd like. Alright, and the next is one that has been waiting for years. I decided in 2020, the year I started knitting, I decided I was going to make all of my siblings a knit. So I started with the baby that was unborn then, Azariah, and I made him a vest, and then I went to my next sibling and made him a vest, and I made my sister a cardigan, and then my next sister I was going to make her one, and the pattern was so hard. I could not figure it out. I tried taking it to other people to figure out. My stitch count would never add up. I would count and count, make sure I had no distractions. It was never working. I ripped it out like 11 or 12 times. Kept ripping out. It wasn't working. So I set it aside, and then tried again a few months later, and then just let it sit, the yarn sit for months. So she never got her cardigan. I finally decided last year to make it for her, and then I realized that they no longer had the right size for her. So I let her pick out a different pattern, and this time she chose the Magnolia cardigan. And I don't remember the designer's name. I'll have to put that in there. But this is it. This is my first, like, lace work. And this is a pattern, actually, I have had pinned for years. But I never made it. And it has some really cool twisted rib detail. Has really cool twisted rib detail on the cuffs that blends into the lace pattern, which is really fun. And you can see on the back, it's super pretty. It's marked with a bunch of stitch markers because I still have to crochet the buttons. That was one thing I was disappointed about in the pattern. The pattern was super easy to follow, and I really enjoyed it. But I thought the pattern for the buttons would be in the pattern. But it wasn't. I could tell they're crocheted though, and then once I looked at her other pictures, I realized those were on only one version of the cardigan. In others, she had different kinds of buttons or no buttons. So it was just a, so then I was like, well, I guess it's kind of my fault. I just assumed it would be part of the pattern. But I did find a pattern for the buttons, and I need to crochet those. I just haven't yet. But this yarn is from Knit Picks. It's the Gloss DK. So it's silk and merino, and it's super soft. The only thing though is this yarn does pill pretty easily. And it felts easily. which makes it look a lot more dull. But otherwise, I do like it, and I bought this before. It was my first time trying this yarn, so I didn't know that. But she loves it, and hopefully he'll get buttons on it soon, because she's been waiting a really long time for this. But I really like this cardigan pattern, and I think I want to make one for myself. One of the sample knits is in a really pretty yellow, mustard yellow, and it was one that I had saved on Pinterest years ago, and I think I'd like to make one like that. But I think it looks really beautiful in this like jewel tone as well. This is the color Captain, by the way. So yeah, that was another one that I made. So I also made the Veggie Patch cardigan. Again, I cannot remember the designer's name, but I will put in some pictures and videos of my siblings wearing those. I made them for my cousins, and so I don't have those to show either. But I made the size 6-year-old and 2-year-old. And I made those with the Gloss DK yarn as well. And I made those in the same Gloss DK yarn I already showed. I also made some hats. I made the boyfriend hat. I actually made 2 of those. One for my brother-in-law, which, again, I don't have, and the other one for my friend's husband. And then I made a mini one for their son so that they could match. So I don't have any of those, but I used the yarn from my Abeline Pullover, that green yarn, to make those, and they turned out really cute. I think I have some video clips of those. And then I made another commission knit. I made a bonnet for a friend, and for a friend's son, and I used her homespun yarn. So that was another little fun one. I enjoyed doing some commissions last year, and I think I'd like to do some more this year as well. But then after that, I did that. I started going through my project. Then I started going through my yarn stash, trying to finish up all my started projects. One of which was the Sunday suit by Petite Knit. It's still not quite finished, but the knitting part is done. I had run out of yarn after doing only one of the legs, so I was able to get the yarn to finish that up. And I still need to block this and then put on the buttons. But this was really fun to do. Again, the 1x1 ribbing, it was tiny little cuffs. So cute. And after blocking, I know it'll just look even better. But here's the back, so you can see the sunburst style more. I ran out of yarn because I thought I would have more than enough, but I forgot when you're using a larger yarn, you use more yarn. So this is a DK weight, and I think the pattern calls for a fingering. But I think it turned out pretty cute, and this is the color Wharf. This yarn is the Gloss DK in the color Wharf. I used that yarn a lot last year because I just loved all the colors, but I wouldn't use it anymore now because it does pill and tends to stretch when blocking. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty cute. So after making that bonnet for my friend's son, I had a little bit of the homespun left over, so I decided to make a pattern called the Wee Speedy. It's supposed to only take about an hour to make, and it calls for a bulky weight yarn, but this isn't a bulky weight, so it's very tiny. I don't know if it'll actually fit a baby, but I used up all the rest of the yarn, and it's cute. I love these little stitches right here. I don't know if it'll show up, but there's a little bit of white in these stitches, and I love that because it just makes it stand out a little bit more. But this only has one buttonhole, so I do need to add one button. I don't know if it'll fit, but I didn't want to make another bonnet, and I don't think that this necessarily would have been enough. It might have been enough for a bonnet, but I didn't want to make another bonnet, and I wanted something small, so I just decided to try to do it, and I did it once and then had to take it out again because I used smaller needles and there was no way that would have fit a baby. So I did it again with slightly larger needles, and I don't know if it'll fit in a baby, but I'll set it aside and maybe someday it'll fit a baby. But one of my favorite baby knits I made recently was a Knitting for Olive pattern. I buddy knit this with my sister. Look at how cute. It's a little bit wrinkled because it's been put away, but look at that. This is the Monday suit by Petite Knit. The yarn is Knitting for Olive. I got this mixed up. I accidentally put my buttonholes on the wrong side of the button band because I misread the pattern, but I think it's really cute, and it's nice to have such a thin, fine knit. And I buddy knit this with my sister when she was expecting her youngest, and he was born back in January, and so I know it looks very cute on a baby. I love it. It was one of our favorite outfits on him. And then this one's going to go aside of my hope chest. It's a little bit wrinkly from being folded up, but this one was a really fun one to knit. I really like it. And this is my first time using Knitting for Olive yarn, but I really like their yarn. This is their fingering weight merino. And then, and this is the color marzipan. So it's really nice, like off-white color. And then to match it, we made this little bonnet pattern. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. It means enchanted in French, but I don't know how to pronounce that. And Kingston, my nephew, has one of these too because we knit them together, his mom and I. And so it's a matching set. I'll hold them up beside each other. So these two together, like that. And it has this really cool detail on the front part. And then I actually altered the pattern. It was garter stitch for the back, but I thought all over stockinette would look better. So there is this slight like snowflake style back on it, which I actually think is pretty cute. So I did alter the pattern a little bit. It fits pretty well. This is also my first time doing I-cord edging. So it has I-cord edging on it, which doesn't look that neat because it was my first time doing it. On this side it doesn't look very neat, but then I experimented and I was able to make it look better. So this side looks better. That's what it should look like. But that's what mine looks like. But this is really fun to make a set. I haven't made matching sets before. I have made lots of baby knits, but never ones that were meant to be sets. And then for one of the last, I think this is the last finished item I have, I made the, oh, I saved the label. I was wondering what was in there. I had just one skein of this yarn. It's the Patton's Classic Wool Merino. And this is the color, I don't know, does it say the color? This is 223 yards. And I don't know the color. It does not say the color. But I only had one skein and someone had already started to use part of it, so I didn't have a full skein actually. And I decided to make these pants. I don't remember the name, but it's a pair of pants that we've made. It's a little bit darker than the camera's showing it. It's like a deep foresty green. It has this really cool like moss stitch detail and garter stripes. And we've made this pattern so many times. I had to alter it a little bit though because I didn't have enough yarn. So sometimes we put elastic in the waist, and I was hoping to be able to do I-cord, but I didn't have enough to do that. I made like this long piece of I-cord and then ran out of yarn. So I'll just put some elastic in here and then sew up this front part. I had to alter the pattern a little bit though. So for the waistband, it really helps to, normally she has you sew, you do 18 rows of this ribbing and then you sew them together. You work it flat and then sew it together later. But we always have worked the first 9 rows circular and then divided the other 9 rows to be worked flat. So it just saves you some seaming and looks nicer. But I ran out of yarn, so I knew I was going to run out. And so instead of doing garter stitch on the bottom part like the pattern says, I did some 2x2 ribbing to match the top. But then I still ran out, so I had to unpick the other leg to try to make them even. And they're still like not quite even, but they're really close, and they'll just be a little bit shorter than a regular pair. I think this is the 0 to 3 month pair, so that also means that it won't be as big of an issue having shorter pant legs, because babies normally pull up their feet anyway. But yeah, I made this from the Patton's wool. And then on with the stash busting. Back in about October or November, I think, maybe, I don't know, last fall sometime, I made my very first skein of yarn, homespun yarn. I have done spinning off and on over the years, but I never finished anything because the spinning wheel is in high demand in our family, and I never finished it. So I decided I wanted to finish some yarn. This is going to be to finish my Felix that is made with homespun yarn. I needed enough to do all of the ribbing on it, but because I was new to spinning and because the wool I was using, some of it was a bit felted, it just turned out way too thick. It was like a very heavy, bulky, probably about a bulky weight or heavier yarn. So I had this, I didn't really know what to make with it. It wasn't a lot. And it was totally outside of my comfort zone for what I normally make. But I had this idea for like a Waldorf inspired coat, like a heavy wool coat. So I started working on that. I did the 3 month size, but obviously this is much larger than 0 to 3 month. But then I ran out of yarn. So I didn't use up all my stash yarn like I thought I would. I instead just created another problem, and now I have to spin yarn again to finish this. And that was not the goal. But it has 1x1 ribbing on the collar. It's very nice, thick. I was thinking like a thick felt jacket. That's kind of what my idea was, though I'm not going to felt this. It has bits of like red, maroon, with this natural wool. And I'm just going to have to spin some more, I guess. But I think it'll be really cute when it's done. I was thinking with some like wooden buttons. It's kind of hard to show because I'm in the middle of a row. And it's all bundled up on these needles. But I think I have an idea in my mind, and I think it'll be very cute when it's done. Now I just need to spin more yarn for it, though, because that yarn did not go nearly far enough. And then, again, while waiting on some... Oops, oh dear. Then I tried to use up another yarn, and it didn't go to plan according to plan either. Every time I would open my yarn tote, I would see this skein of yarn, and it was so pretty, and I wanted to make myself a jacket or like a cardigan or a vest out of it every time, and I kept forgetting it was not a sweater's quantity like I thought. And so one day when I did that yet again, I'm like, okay, this has to end. I'm not going to think this is a sweater's quantity again and then be disappointed. So I cast on the Hosenmats. It's a baby pant pattern that, again, we've made a few times. I say we because my sisters and mom and I make a lot of baby knits, or we've had them in the house, so it feels like I made them even if I haven't. This is actually my first time making these, but my little brother had a pair of these in red. And they're really cute. But stop banging! But I misread the pattern, and I thought I was supposed to be doing increases on front and back. And I was not. So I had almost double the amount of stitches I was supposed to have. And I thought that they would just be extra roomy pants. I could change it, and it would be fine. So, as you can see, in this entire leg, it looks like it's a bit pilly, but it's not. It just has little bits of different colors throughout the whole yarn. It's really pretty. I love the colors in this. But anyway, I thought those would be a little bit more billowy pants, and I did the entire leg. I made it with a little bit of a longer cuff than the pattern says, or maybe it's just as long, I don't remember. Because these are made to fold over the baby's feet or to fold them up when the baby's littler, so they fit for a longer period of time. So I made a nice wide ribbing. They turned out really cute. It was a bit more full than I expected, but I was like, they'll still be cute. It'll work. And I started working on the next leg, and then I realized, and I altered the pattern to have decreases faster than the pattern said because it was going to be much bigger than I expected. And I started working on the other leg, and I realized that my stitch counts were not adding up. I accidentally did, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I could follow the pattern for dividing the legs and it would end up having the same stitch count on both legs. Of course it did not. And now I'm just going to have to take these all the way out to the ribbing because I don't know where the increases really started. I know that I did a large increase row right after the ribbing. So I'm just going to have to rip them out all the way up to here and try again. So it's kind of sad, but I know that I'll probably be happier with them in the end than if I tried to just alter them and do my own thing. So, several started projects for various reasons, and I kind of don't like that, but, you know, it is what it is. So before I show you more of my whips, because there's several of them, I wanted to show you this yarn from Fiber Tales because it's just so pretty. I have a few extra skeins because I wanted to make a matching sweater to mine, but like in a toddler size. And I found another pattern for that I can share later. It's not by the same designer, but it has almost all the same textures in it, and it's a toddler version. So I wanted to show you though this yarn. It's just packaged so nicely, and this is what the skeins looks like before I open them. This is my last full bundle. I think I got 9 skeins of this yarn. So yeah, it's just so pretty. I had to show you guys. And it's pretty soft, but it's also a bit of a rustic yarn. I think this is the DK weight. It's like a DK fingering weight yarn. So for my last whip to show you, I am making the I'm making a pattern from Fox and Folk. I love her patterns. This is not my normal color at all, but my little sister is very much a pink and purple girl. They're her favorite colors, and she tries to wear all pink anytime she can. So this is for her. It's a little bit hard to show it because it's quite gathered on the bottom. It has a peplum, like, gathered bottom. It has garter stitch and a really pretty eyelet detail on the raglan increases, and I will have to pick up for a collar later and do the sleeves. This is the same brand of yarn as, it's the Mayflower brand of Easy Care Classic Merino. I don't remember the color of this. It doesn't say. I can look it up, but it's very bright, like bubblegum pink color, and I don't have the other skein with me right now, but this is going to be a pink and purple cardigan, and the pattern is adorable. The colors are not what I would choose, but I know she will love it. She's so excited about it. So yeah, it's going to have half sleeves and like a peplum bottom, gathered peplum bottom, and on the bottom of the sleeves, there are half sleeves, and then it has like this knit, I don't remember, I think it's knit, but you like pick up stitches and knit like a lace detail on the bottom. And so she chose that color. It's in a contrast color, and she chose purple for that. So it was kind of hard because I wanted it to be exactly what she wanted, but also I feel like it's kind of hard to make pink and purple together and not look tacky. So we tried our best, but it's a very stereotypical girl, pink and purple colors. But she'll love it. And while knitting this, I realized it is like the exact same color as the first cardigan that I made her a few years ago. So let's just say she's consistent with what she likes. I don't know why, but I always feel like I need to finish my knits before I share them in a podcast, and I think it's partly because it's easier to show, but it's also funny because it's like, isn't that kind of the point, you know, to see people's progress on their projects? So I made myself not finish the peplum bottom at least before showing you guys. So that'll probably be done in a couple of days, maybe a week, but we're gonna show progress. The last thing I have to show you is something very, very exciting. So I already showed you my first yarn that I made. This is my second. It's this really cool, it was this beautiful roll of roving that I thought reminded me of like the deep sea. It was a deep blue and had bits of green in it and stuff. And then when I was almost done spinning it, I realized that the name was on the bag of roving. It was gifted roving. And it's called, the name of this roving, can you guess it? I'll put in a little video and then you can guess what the name of the color was, because it fits so well. But there's it's mostly a blue, but it has little bits of red and pink and purple and green and yellow, and it was so fun to spin. My goal was for a DK weight yarn, and I'll show you a few strands of, I'll just put it in a new video because it's kind of hard to show, but my goal was a DK weight yarn, and I think I achieved that really well. I did it, it's 2-ply except for the last little bit, because I tried to make a plying bracelet, failed miserably. It was like with an entire bobbin of single ply, and I tried to make a spinning bracelet, failed miserably. It was a mess. So I switched from doing 2-ply to doing 3-ply, and I did which I really love the look of it. Let's see if I can find a strand of it like that. I don't know. I think I just saw one. Where was it at? Maybe it's this one? Yeah, this one's a 3-ply. I'll just insert another video of that. But the 3-ply gives this really cool, it's much more uniform circular shape, and less rope-like. So that was really fun to do. I crocheted before I knit, so it felt very natural to do. I loved that you could use just one bobbin. When my single ply yarn broke like twice, I found it really easy to just keep spinning, not even stop, and twist it in there in a way that was going to be very secure. So I want to try more 3-ply, but this is my giant skein of yarn. It's still a little bit damp. I just twisted it up for the video, but this is it. I'm really happy with it. I was a little bit disappointed though, because I'd hoped that I would have enough to make myself a sweater. But then whenever I measured it, I had 927 yards, and I need like minimum 1,200, but preferably about 1,400 yards to make myself a sweater, and this is only 927. I tried spinning it as thin as I could, but it didn't work. My original plan was actually to do the long distance cardigan. I love that design, but then after I spun this, I realized it wasn't enough yardage, and I realized that that is a fingering weight cardigan, not DK, which I feel like this is a pretty consistent DK. Some of it's a little bit thicker, but most of this is like a DK weight yarn. So unfortunately it's not enough for that, but what I am going to do is, I mentioned Fox and Folk patterns. I love all of her designs. I love botanical inspired knitwear and clothing. So I love all of her designs, and she has a pattern called the Lady Catkin Pullover, I believe, and it's a top down like 3/4 sleeve sweater. And what I'm going to do is I am going to make that, but before, I'm only going to knit like a couple inches of the body, and then but I'm only going to knit like a couple inches of the body, and then I'll pause, do both of the sleeves, but I'm not going to make them 3/4 length, because I actually don't like them at 3/4 length. I like them either half or full. So I'll make them into half sleeves, and then I will just continue knitting the body until it's as long as I can go. And I think it'll work out pretty well. So I'll still get a sweater out of it, just maybe a bit more cropped and not the same pattern I was originally thinking. But I just love spinning, and now I want to spin some more, but the spinning wheel is commandeered, so I've got to wait until my mom's done, and then I have several sisters that are wanting to do it, so I might be able to slip in there and get enough yarn to at least finish my Felix, because I do want to finish that cardigan before making another cardigan, and because that's technically my first cardigan, and I would like to keep it my first cardigan. I don't want to start another one and then finish it before that one's done, so hopefully I'll be able to finish that off. It's been a really long time, so glad to finally have made a projects video, and I just keep messing with this yarn. Anyway, it's been a long time since I have made a knitting podcast. I've really mostly just been making vlogs lately, and I've been way more inconsistent because it's been harder than I anticipated to make videos here. For a long time I didn't know how I could upload them because we don't have Wi-Fi out here and very low signal out here as well for cell service. But I have figured out how to upload videos now. Still can't do them all the time, but it's working fairly well, and I'm going to try to start editing more and videoing more. It's really hard once you get out of a certain habit to develop a new habit. I used to have like a regular rhythm that I would go about and a certain place where I would video, and here it's a bit harder. You've probably heard noises in the background because we are living in a smaller cabin and people are busy all around. Life goes on and things are busy, so it's just been a bit harder, but I'm trying to be more disciplined and to find new ways to make videos because I do really enjoy sharing things with you guys, and I enjoy watching a lot of other knitting podcasts and other things, and I'd like to know more. So I would like to make a video with my summer knitting and crafting plans. So would you guys be interested in watching that? I'll probably make it anyway, honestly, but would you guys be interested in watching that? What do you guys want to see? Because it has been mostly, I did find that making monthly vlogs has been a lot easier than trying to do daily vlogs. It gives me a better platform to share all of the little things that I find randomly, because I love videoing nature and things that I find, and I feel weird putting that into a daily vlog because it wasn't filmed that day. So doing the like month-long recaps has been really fun, and it's allowed me to not waste any footage and to be able to put in fun things. But I do want to do more than just the vlogs. So some more knitting podcasts coming up. I have a lot of different plans for things I'd like to do this summer. Lots of different fiber crafts, not just knitting. I keep saying knitting, but I have plans for other things that I will share in another video. And I'd like to share what's my kind of goals and ideas, like what theme I'm going for the summer crafting, because I actually have a plan for what I want to do. It's not just one or two patterns. So I would love to share that. I know I want to make some videos with my mom because you guys love seeing her and I love making videos with her. And I think we might be doing some weaving videos this summer. I'm not sure. Several of you guys were interested in that. So we're going to try to make that happen. It's a little bit harder because we don't have a place to leave the looms set up. So we're mostly just using our portable looms right now. But I'd like to do some things like that. We're going to do a lot more shows this year, and I'm kind of just rambling on now. So I will talk to you later. Let me know what you guys have been doing, what you would like to see. What kind of tea have you been drinking? Because I need some tea ideas. My usual is Darjeeling tea with maple syrup and cream, or just Darjeeling alone. But for some reason, it hasn't been as good lately. I don't know if I'm making it wrong, because I know when I get in a habit of making something often, I can get a bit lazy with it and kind of forget how to make it. So I need some ideas for teas. Anyway, it's been lovely chatting with you all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Excuse the extremely messy hair, but I also finally, after more than a year of procrastinating, shortened the sleeves on my Favo sweater, and so I wanted to share it because it fits so much better and I absolutely love it, and I was heartbroken that I had to put it away for the summer. So here are some pictures because I'm very excited about it now. Maybe he did then. I just didn't know. I didn't remember a little kid bringing it to me. I also completely forgot to insert this footage and talk about this project, but for a friend, I made this set for her little boy. I made her a crocheted fox. This is the Francis the Fox pattern, and it turned out really cute. I'm really happy with it. It did make my hands hurt, but I used cotton yarn for this from Hobby. I used cotton embroidery floss and filled it with cotton batting, so it's all cotton, and I tried to get organic things where I could because babies tend to chew on things, and so I wanted to make it as natural as possible, and that's also why I did not use the safety eyes because they're kind of sharp. I also made this matching fox sweater for him, which was really fun to make, and it's a little bit long because I mismeasured, but I think he'll like it, and I heard it fits him, so it should fit him this fall as well, so I'm very excited about that. Here's some footage of me making it. It took much longer than I expected. Crocheted animals just take so much longer than you would expect.